As you can see along there, we've created and generated a lot of fields and forced the hillsides and trees back farther. Now we're going to create another layer of trees in front of all of this. They're much bigger and bolder, so they're going to be done slightly different than our previous ones. I'm taking a fresh palette here, grabbing some yellow paint and black paint to make our green again. It's going to be much darker, but that's okay because we want it to really force sort of a shadow effect, because we're going to be putting buildings and real scenery in front of it. And just by generating these little vertical lines this time, again holding the brush this way, I'm going to be going up like so, creating a bunch of vertical lines. So I'm going to take some black here, and I'm just going to go like this in front of it all. And you can see these sort of streaky things going on. Grab some yellow, go into it, and it of course is going to make the green effect. And right here I do want to sort of have a forested edge, so I'm just generating all these kind of vertical lines. You can see all that streaky stuff and fairly heavy at the bottom, something like this. You can see the line, there's one of them there. Try to go straight up from the bottom. Try not to put too many curves in your swaths. And grab some more yellow. You can go right over top of the black, and what it creates is highlights. Don't go over it too much or it'll all blend into one color. And just go like that. You can see that effect. And so we're just creating sort of a forest in behind. There's going to be a building here of some sort, and that will basically create a forest in front of the field that you see, which pushes that hillside back farther, like so. And you just keep going along like that. You can leave some open spots, maybe here, and put a few trees there. Grab some yellow. Use straight black, nice and strong. And as you can see now, when you look along as it dries, it looks like there's a field in behind what surmounts to amounts to being as a forest. And the more you generate close together like this, the heavier that forest becomes. These become the background trees as you go along. You can get big ones like that, the odd big one. A lot of times in an HO scale we have a tendency not to make our trees as big as they actually are in reality, so be generous here. These are probably 40 to 50 feet, 60 feet behind the buildings that we're going to have in the foreground. So, you know, sometimes trees will grow, what, 100, 120 feet easy in this part of the world there, Tom?
I would think so.
Yeah, they could be pretty big. So, you just go along here, and you can see the bottoms here are kind of on a line, so if you want, you can just paint off the bottoms so you don't have those points. There's some over here too. Just paint off the bottoms. This is another one where you can actually dip your brush in the water and make it kind of wet on your brush, and as you can see, you get your trees quite easily. So yeah, dip your brush in the water, and your paint will go a little bit farther too. So you can see it's a wetter consistency, and it also brings all the bristles together nicely. So we're just going to go along here doing this for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Right now we're about 2 hours into our 2 hours and a half maybe at the most,
yeah,
into our painting of this 24-foot backdrop. And basically you're creating a stroke a second here, roughly. And you can see sometimes they're green, sometimes you can go back over now and put some black ones in front of the dark green ones. And all it does is create more and more forest. Get some more water here and some more yellow. And you can expect in a 24-foot section to go through a tube of this yellow paint quite easily. If you find that you want your paint to go a long way, you can obviously add the medium yellow a bit too. So you're not using up all one tube. There you go. Just make a mess here of this and generate some black, some yellow. If you find they're not straight up and down, you can go over and just put another stroke in there. See how that's pushing all of that field and hillsides back farther into the scene. These are about 4-inch strokes, 4-inch high trees. Once you get the idea and get lots of practice in, it's not that hard to do. And they can be dark, they can be light, it doesn't matter. They can be green, they can be yellow. You can go over them and create new ones on top like that. And again in the bottoms, when they get just stroke out the bottoms a bit. Leave a space. Come over here. Why are we leaving a space? Well, later on, you know, we can generate a little bit of a hill or a field in there, put some bushes in. It just breaks up the scenery a bit. All along behind we have a building here, so you imagine the buildings are going to be about this high. Isn't that about right, Tom?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're just going to really see the tops of the trees anyway. You can, you have to sort of look at, see what you've actually, what you're actually putting in for a siding. Yeah, just paint along like so. See, there used to be a river in here, or the thought of putting a river in. That concept really never worked all that well. So that's one of the reasons why everything's changing along here. We're putting sidings in. Now, there's no reason why you can't keep a little wet spot there. So you could just go like this, or you can just take it out, whatever you want to do. You got a slope going on here. Eventually you could continue that slope just by painting in. And you know, by the way, you can paint your scenery as well while you're at it, if you get the inclination of just adding a little bit of this and that to it. And it gives you some imagination in terms of how you perceive that little spot there. And just keep going along, keep going along. And this is what McDonald coal. Now there's probably lots of coal in the back, so you might want to just take straight black and punch some black in here. Take black, punch it in, and maybe just kind of generate a big coal pile in behind where the coal's going to be. It's just one way of approaching it. Maybe a few trees. And just keep going along. A little bit of darker yellow in there, maybe some yellow in there. there's going to be a building here eventually. We'll just go over here. I'm just picking on some spots. I need some more paint, get some black. You don't have to be too fussy about the type of brush you're using, because really all you're doing is creating these vertical lines. There's some black. Some yellow. We need some water here. You're going to just dip some water in. So we've gone about 3/4 of the way along here generating this forest. I don't know, there might be another building there, so we'll go over here. Just put a few in here. Nothing too much. This is kind of a busy open spot, so maybe a few trees here. So kind of, if it's hard to get in behind the buildings because they're already planted, just don't put anything there. We'll just go in and punch some color in later. Can use real scenery eventually to you can see we're almost done here. We've got another maybe 6 feet to go. Just get a little bit more water in this. Now we come to this pointed corner here. This is an ideal spot to put some of these trees in. And it just again helps to take out the corner, make it disappear. Another building there, so just kind of see, once you put real scenery in up to the wall, and sometimes when you're putting the scenery in, right now it's at about 90 degrees, but if you just add a little bit of dirt and slope it a bit, or maybe put a fence along, or a model fence, it really creates another dimension to your depth in the field. I'll just get some more yellow here. It's a long walk down, but hey, I need the exercise. Oh, that was a good one. And of course all these colors will dry a little bit lighter, so we'll just put some of that over top. We'll take some lighter color over the dark, and as you just keep stroking it in, it creates all these sort of vertical lines. And as you can see, just by putting these in front, it pushes that field back. Just pick out the corner bottom here. heavy little water tank getting in the way back there. It is a black water tank after all. So.
Road tar.
Road tar?
Road tar.
Well, let's add some more to the back here. The color can just generate the continuity that you need for the field. If you want it to look like it all joins together, you just put that color up into your painting. There's just a few spots over here. I didn't like that coal field. It never did look right there. Okay, so we're just about done here. The only thing I need to do now is I'll throw this in here, grab some more of my bright yellow and black, and there's two little things we're going to do. One, we're going to do our punchy strokes, and these now are more like foreground trees. They're still the same shape and the same size, but we're just going to go over top like this, just like we did up here. And what that'll do is push that forest back a bit. I need a little bit more black here because it's a little too bright, that color. Because what we're doing now is just kind of putting shadows behind the buildings. So it's more like foreground bushes. And just kind of punch them in like this, right at the joint line. Sometimes we can leave a spot, and as you can see, the paint is still wet there, so it's still very subtle. It's not very strong, but it does move these trees back a little bit. And it's dark in there, so put some black over top of that now. I don't particularly like that spot, so just blob it out. And of course, when you put real trees and bushes and scenery in front, it'll all just kind of blend back out of the way. So I'm just going to go along doing that all the way along. These punchy lines here are about, you can do that, they're about maybe 3 inches high. If you want, you can actually slope it just like you did before. You can go in and just generate a slope there. Take out the bottoms of them, and it just pushes them back a little farther. You can see the old scenery there, just punch it out. Is that a platform, or is that just the base for the building?
Base for the building.
So I can paint on it?
Oh, I'll touch it up if I have to. Don't worry about it.
Okay. just going along here.
There's more to hide the edge of it than the top.
Yep.
Top of weather.
There we are. So I'll just take off the bottom of that. There. I'm going to watch the building there, the station. That's me talking to myself. Because we don't want to wreck it, do we? It's been there a while.
It's the signal that's the problem.
Yep. Okay, so let's just punch this up here. This will be kind of cool. As you can see now, that was a problem area in terms of trying to hide the foreground and background, but now it's pushed back just by putting some trees in. You can have some fun and build a big tree too. I like doing something like this. Just punching in over top. See that? Just leave it like that. You might even do one of those over here, just to highlight. Just like that. Yeah, I might even put one over here, just for fun. So you can randomly put in some big trees. It makes a nice effect. Just like that over top. So you start at the top of the tree and just dab, dab, dab down. And those really make nice deciduous, just as if that's a word. You being a teacher, Tom, you probably know whether that's a word or not. A decidui tree? I'm not sure. See where these start and finish? It's also a good spot to kind of punch in a tree. Just hides the corner of it. And you know, you can put some stuff across the bottom here. Now that's still fairly wet, so that's why it's going dark. And there's no reason why the next day you can't come along and change something you don't like and say, ooh, some spot I don't particularly care for. There's a nice bright one. Find your brush gets mushy, just go grab another one. That's why it's good to have lots of brushes. Start with a fresh one here. This one's really nice rock hard. You can see the difference. You get a real punchy effect when you do that. Any of these lines here. Again, the real scenery is going to be in front of most of this. So you're just dabbing stuff in, having some fun here. Take out the bottom. It's kind of a nice little thing of forest there. Maybe just create a slope in front of it or something. Keep it like that. And then just put in another tree here. It's almost like an N-scale building there. It's so small. Those forced perspective buildings, Tom?
No, I just think it's a shed.
Oh, okay. Again, these are just splotches of color. They're really nothing defined there. Yeah, you can put in a little foreground field if you want there, just to change it up a bit. It's pretty wet right now, so it's going to stay dark. You can always come back in with some white later. And just kind of pushing along here. And as has been happening here, you go through the yellow like crazy, get some more yellow. So if you're trying to figure out how much yellow paint to grab, I think for 24 feet you go through a tube. Roughly. You only go through about a quarter tube of black. But there, it's pretty, it's very wet on wet here right now, so I'm using straight yellow over top of what I applied as black, and it's making it go green. And you know, here's one of those corner scenes that are always interesting. So right on the corner, I just kind of blob out, add maybe a little bit of black in there. Create a little bit of a slope down there. Something going on. They're just coming along there pretty good.
That changes it totally.
Hey?
Total change.
Yeah, it does look a little different, doesn't it? So right here we're just adding a few trees, bushes, blobbing them in. Just lightly dabbing in along here. Take out the bottoms a bit. And have it come right down to the... Of course Tom's going to go nuts here putting in real forests and trees and stuff to push all this stuff I'm painting on back a bit. And we just keep going along here. Yeah, just there we go. That looks starting to look good. And the big tree here. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah.
Right about there. Just to break up that bit of a field back here. Just punch in a tree over top like that. Look at that. Over here, you might need a tree right at. If you got a funny joint, just punch a tree over top. Cleans it up. Maybe one right here. If you are going to do trees, sometimes you should do them in odd numbers. So if you're going to put 2 in, you should put in 3, and so on and so forth. If you're going to do, somehow it always looks better with 3, 5 or something, or an odd number anyway. So now I'm just going back now and having a look and putting in some bigger trees just to break up the forest in behind. Some spots just demand them. You can see where, oh yeah, there should be a tree there. It's a pretty wet spot right there, so eventually you might have to go back and paint over top of that. Yeah, this is fun. This is the fun part. Just putting in these little trees. Try to keep them vertical.
Fine.
And I'm just going back in now and painting in a few trees. Maybe behind where this building is there might be a few more, so it's always good just to add some where that building's going to go, because you don't know how tall the building actually is going to be. You could put one way up here. It'll look okay with the building in front of it. Put something like that. Over here, putting in a few more. Ain't it fun? Just painting in these big foreground trees. By painting these in, you need fewer real trees, so if you don't like making trees, this is a lot faster way to generate them than to sit at your workbench. So, you know, for example, this one here took probably 5 seconds to make versus maybe a few minutes for another homemade tree. And We're just getting down to the end here just for these. These are your deciduous trees. We're going to be showing you a conifer technique in a minute here. Just punch a few in here. Okay. Tommy's corner. Paint it out a bit more there. All right.